Welcome to Cyber Threat Intel, your go-to source for the latest updates, news, and insights on cyber threats. Our goal is to arm you with the knowledge to protect yourself in the digital age, whether you're a cybersecurity professional or just curious about the threats lurking in the digital shadows. Make sure to subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast listening platform to join us on the front lines of cybersecurity, because in the world of cyber threats, knowledge is power. Welcome to Cyber Threat Intel. My name is John Good, and I'm your host today. This is episode number 31. This is Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. Glad to have you. If you're joining for the first time, if you're watching the content for the first time, if you're returning, glad to see you coming back. Always love having you back. So with that being said, if you need to grab a snack or a drink before we hop into the content, make sure that you do that, whatever you need to get you through the content. And with that being said, let's go ahead and flip over my screen and jump into the first article here. All right, so first article here, 2/3 of organizations failing to address AI risks, according to ISACA. Only a third of organizations are adequately addressing security, privacy, and ethical risks with AI, despite surging use of these technologies in the workplace, according to new ISACA research. A survey of 3,270 digital trust professionals found that just 34% believe organizations are paying sufficient attention to AI ethical standards, while under a third, so 32%, said organizations are adequately addressing AI concerns in deployments such as private data privacy and bias. It also says the research dated May 7th identified a lack of AI knowledge among digital trust professionals, with only 25% declaring themselves as extremely or very familiar with AI. So if you aren't aware, right, artificial intelligence, AI is a huge buzzword right now. Now, let's be very clear, AI or artificial intelligence is not new, right? That idea is not new. We've had artificial intelligence all the way back to things like Terminator, right? But the idea of this is not new. We've had certainly some advancements lately that have made things a lot better and really more feasible as far as using artificial intelligence and the things that we're capable of doing with it. But the idea of it is not new. Now, with that being said, we are starting to see a lot of companies start to adopt artificial intelligence or start to use it for certain things, right? There are absolutely use cases that we've seen that are legitimate. We've also seen bad actors or threat actors start using it to create malware, which obviously that's bad in its own right, right? But as companies start to use it, just like any technology, as a cybersecurity professional, as a risk management professional, whatever area that you're in, you need to understand the risk that is associated with using that, how it works. What kind of data does it consume? Where does it store that data? How long does it store that data? All of these things matter, right? And then obviously, if your company is creating AI solutions, then you need to understand it even better so that you can predict and account for, especially on the back end, the security concerns that you need to account for, right? So customer data, sensitive data, all those kinds of things, separations, logically separating customer data, all that kind of stuff, right? So the article also says client advise organizations to utilize available AI frameworks to help build an AI governance policy, such as the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, so NIST, AI risk management framework. So there are starting to be some of these guidance or guidelines that are being published for the use of AI, and that you should absolutely look into, especially if you're going to deal with AI, just so you kind of understand best practices and different things that you need to do, right? IT professionals surveyed in the research also highlighted the significant impact they expect AI to have on jobs generally. So keep paying attention because this is important. Around half, 45%, believe many jobs will be eliminated due to AI over the next 5 years, and 80% think many jobs will be modified as a result of these technologies. However, 78% believe AI will have a neutral or positive impact on their own careers. So they don't think that it's going to impact themselves. They think it's going to impact everybody else, which is interesting, right? Clyde told Info Security that he expects AI to essentially replace certain cybersecurity roles in time. This includes SOC analysts, with AI far better than humans at pattern recognition. Another is substantially reducing the human role in writing policies and reports. So, with this being said, right, one of the scare things, right, that scares everybody about AI is that it's going to take over jobs. Well, with technology and improvements, right, certainly things do change, right? Look at the assembly line for cars or just in general. When the assembly line came out, I don't know how much you know about history and how this works, but certainly that replaced jobs, right? Because things were kind of more chaotic. Now we have like robots that are in the assembly line and doing certain things, right? So, absolutely, automation and technology certainly is going to change jobs, reduce jobs, and kind of shake things up. How will that happen? Well, I think typically, and especially right now, people are kind of jumping the gun and assuming that it's going to just take over and it's going to do everything, right? AI is going to do everything, and then we're just not going to have any jobs. I mean, that's not true, right? That's just completely inaccurate. But with technology, that's why you have to stay up to date and stay current with the skills that are in demand, because absolutely the career field will change and evolve over time. In 30 years from now, what jobs look like are not going to be the same as what they look like right now, right? There are going to be different jobs, there's going to be different focuses, different new technologies that are out, right? And so that's definitely a key part. The key thing with AI, especially as it relates to cybersecurity, are those kind of routine, mundane tasks, right? Those tasks that take a bunch of time, that are just repetitive, and it's not really anything changing, right? Pattern based activities. Now, things like policies and reports, like that are mentioned in here, I don't agree with that necessarily, right? Maybe some sections of reports and helping to craft well thought out, well written kind of policies. There are certainly things that can be assisted by AI, but at the end of the day, a human still has to be responsible for the policy, right? You're not just going to say, well, AI wrote the policy, and so AI is now my CISO, right? That's just not going to happen. So there's going to be some changes, some evolutions, and we just have to be aware of that as time goes on. But if you're trying to get into cybersecurity, if you're working in cybersecurity right now, don't fall victim to this hype, right? Not all jobs are going to be changed. Not all jobs are going to go away. It's just not what's going to happen. All right, next article here. Hackers exploit Lightspeed cache flow to create WordPress admins. Hackers have been targeting WordPress sites with an outdated version of the Lightspeed cache plugin to create administrator users and gain control of the websites. Lightspeed Cache, LS Cache, is advertising as a caching plugin used in over 5 million WordPress sites that helps speed up page loads, improve visitor experience, and boost Google search ranking. Automatic security team WP Scan observed in April increased activity from threat actors scanning for and compromising WordPress sites with versions of the plugin older than 5.7.0.1, which are vulnerable to a high severity, so at 8.8 rating, unauthenticated cross-site scripting flaw tracked as CVE 2023-40,000. WP Scan reports that the attacks employ malicious JavaScript code injected into critical WordPress files or the database, creating administrator users named WP-sup-user or WP-config user. So with this, think about best practices, right? And this is not just specifically in relation to WordPress, although this article is about WordPress, but think about the best practices that you're doing in your organization, on your websites, with access reviews, all those kinds of things, right? You should be monitoring new user accounts, right? You should understand as soon as a new administrator user is created, and if it's not by you, you're going to be like, and be freaked out, right? That's not good. But you should get some kind of alert or some kind of notification saying, hey, yes, this was identified and we need to look into this, right? Now, further than that, right, if it's an administrator account, how are your backups configured? Where are you backing things up? who has access to those backups? Is there a link between those accounts on your website and those accounts that can access the backups, right? Because if you can create an administrator account as a threat actor, as a bad actor, and you can also access the backups, so you can delete them and you can do all that kinds of stuff, well, that's, kind of bad, right? Because that's just going to be this domino effect where if we look at things like defense in depth, right? Defense in depth is a very popular, common term. It's a best practice in cybersecurity, but it's the idea that you have multiple layers of controls. So that if one, kind of goes away, right, or one gets compromised, one gets exploited, then that's not going to cause this domino effect of the rest of your controls, because it's kind of like one door opens the floodgates to everything, right? So you have different controls, you have different permission sets across the board, checks and balances. That way, no one thing is going to completely compromise your entire network or website, right? Same kind of thing. But these are best practices. I know this article is just about WordPress, but these are things you have to consider, right? You have to think about these things as you're going through your different permission sets and doing these evaluations and access reviews and things on a quarterly basis, typically, maybe a yearly basis, maybe a monthly basis, right? How often are you doing those? All right, next article here. Watch out for rogue DHCP servers decloaking your VPN. A newly discovered vulnerability undermines countless VPN clients in that their traffic can be quietly routed away from their encrypted tunnels and intercepted by snoops on the network. Dubbed tunnel vision by the eggheads at Leviathan Security Group, who uncovered and documented it, technique CVE-2024-3661 can result in a VPN user believing their connection is properly secured and being routed through an encrypted tunnel as usual, while an attacker on their network has instead redirected their connection so that it can potentially be inspected. Furthermore, and this is a quote, the strength of the encryption algorithm a VPN uses makes no difference for this, Leviathan Security noted. Tunnel vision's effect is independent of the underlying VPN protocol because it reconfigures the operating system network stack the VPN relies on. So it's making changes there. Anyone who is able to operate a DHCP server on the same network as someone using a VPN and get that VPN client's machine to use that DHCP server can decloak their traffic because of a particular feature in the configuration protocol option 121, which allows administrators to add classless static routes to client routing tables. So essentially, they're adding these routes to control the traffic and essentially pull off a man-in-the-middle kind of attack, right? That's basically what this is. You're routing it through the attacker's system, and then they send on the traffic or whatever, so you don't even know that it's compromised. As mentioned above, the type of VPN targeted by tunnel vision doesn't really matter, and in all but a single case, the operating system doesn't matter either. Android users, though, are safe because the OS doesn't support DHCP option 121. The only true solution for Linux folks anyways, is to enable network namespaces. Everything else is a workaround. It's not entirely guaranteed to work. It's said non-Linux OS makers are urged to implement network namespaces if they haven't already. It also says, if it's possible to tell your system to ignore DHCP rule 121 while a VPN is active, that would be a good plan, but Leviathan also recommends using a VPN through a dedicated password-protected wireless hotspot for an added layer of security, and they give more suggestions for VPN providers. So, with this, right, think about what's happening here. There are changes being made to your system, right? There are different DHCP servers that are being used. So one of the best things that you can do on your systems is monitoring changes, right? Monitoring DHCP servers that are being used, those kinds of things. Now, DHCP servers, DNS servers, those kinds of options, you have to monitor those on your operating systems, on your client systems, on your server systems, all of those, right? Because even if you have a secure server and somebody can take over those, or a secure system and somebody can take over those settings, modify those settings, just compromise those IP addresses or whatever they are, then they can at least capture your traffic, right? And be a man in the middle, which is, certainly not great, right? That's just not good. But remember too, not only on these systems do you have these settings to go out to servers, right? DHCP servers, DNS servers. You also have local DNS files. So you have those local files where you need to monitor those and make sure that attackers aren't modifying those, because those certainly can cause a lot of problems if they're able to be modified, right? So again, common kind of things, but certainly an interesting thing, because we all think, by default, VPNs are just secure. If I connect to a VPN, nothing else matters. I'm connected with a tunnel, encrypted tunnel between me and that server, or me and that end connection, right? So it's kind of, forcing you to think about that additional kind of situation where if you don't know the server that you're connecting to or how you're connecting via the VPN, you may not be secure, right? You may be secure between you and an attacker, which is, I guess, secure, right? But you need to be aware of something like this, right? Because this is totally possible. All right, next article here. The UK says a huge payroll data breach by a malign actor has exposed details of military personnel. The names of and bank details of thousands of serving British soldiers, sailors, and Air Force members have been exposed in a data breach by a malign actor who may have had state help, defense officials said on Tuesday. Ministry of Defense said the breach occurred at a third-party payroll system holding bank details of as many as 272,000 serving armed forces personnel and recent veterans. In a few cases, addresses may have also been exposed. The quote here, "We cannot rule out state involvement," Shapps told lawmakers in the House of Commons, though he said the government did not yet have evidence to make the conclusion. It also says China's military of, this is interesting, right? China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, when asked about the reports, said it opposed all forms of cyber attacks and is against, and this in quotes, the use of cybersecurity issues to smear other countries for political purposes deliberately. So, yeah, we know that's, not true, but okay. So, always interesting when countries come out and say things like this, right? Especially when they are being suspected of doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. But, as a government, really as even a company, as an entity, what happens when your employees or your military members have their bank details compromised, or their ability to get paid compromised, right? One of the things that is always a severe issue in companies is, can you still pay your employees, right? Those payroll systems are extremely important, because if you can't pay your employees, are they going to take secrets? Are they going to be compromised by other countries, by other governments? Are they just going to leave, right? And then now all of a sudden you're left with no employees because of some kind of payroll glitch or payroll vulnerability or issue, right? So it's not just the fact that you can pay your employees, right? That you have the money to do so. It's, does your payroll system work still so that you can actually pay them? Or are they not getting their money, right? People not getting money in companies or governments or anything like that when they're supposed to get paid is a catastrophic risk, right? That is a major, major risk that can take down a company so quickly, right? So you have to be really, really careful with those kinds of systems and make sure those systems work, right? There's a lot of due care and due diligence that has to go into those. Lockbit ransomware, Mastermind unmasked charge, and this is the next article. And if you need to access the articles, make sure that you check out cyberthreatintel.com. That's where you can find the feed and everything with the articles. So this next article, Lockbit ransomware mastermind unmasked, charged. A Russian national has been named by law enforcement as being the mastermind behind the notorious Lockbit ransomware operation. Uh-oh. We talked about some of this stuff yesterday with Lockbit and their website, so this is kind of a follow-on. And also, I did put an article in the feed of this yesterday too, so make sure you follow the feed. The man, Dmitry Yurevich Koroshev, 31 of Voronezh, Russia, has also known as Lockbit Sup, Lockbit, and Putin Crab, has been charged by the U.S. Department of Justice Department in a 26-count indictment for creating and operating the Lockbit ransomware as a service (RAAS). According to the indictment, Khrushchev was involved in designing Lockbit, recruited affiliates to deploy the malware against victims, maintained the RAAS infrastructure and the Lockbit leak site, and allegedly received over $100 million in proceeds as share from the ransom payments made by the victims. If you don't know what Lockbit is, go definitely research it. It is a major ransomware that everybody really should know about, especially if you're in this career field. According to the indictment, Lockbit was used in attacks against over 2,500 victims in more than 120 countries, including 1,800 victims in the U.S. The ransomware group targeted individuals, small businesses, critical infrastructures, hospitals, schools, corporations, nonprofit organizations, and government and law enforcement agencies, receiving at least $500 million in ransom payments. So we talked about actually yesterday how law enforcement put up the Lockbit website and put some special kind of notes on there, right? So definitely go back and check out that article and that segment in yesterday's episode if you missed that. In addition to encrypting it, the Lockbit group exfiltrated data from targeted organizations and used it to pressure victims, threatening to make the data public unless a ransom was paid. So pretty standard as far as ransomware kind of things. On Tuesday, the U.S. also announced sanctions against Khrushchev and a reward of up to $10 million for information leading to his arrest. Previously, the U.S. announced a $10 million reward for information on Lockbit group leaders. So you can get a pretty big payday if you could help them take this person down. After infiltrating the Lockbit infrastructure, the UK National Crime Agency, the NCA, discovered that the group carried out over 7,000 attacks between June 2022 and February 2024, mainly against entities in the US, UK, France, Germany, and China, including over 100 hospitals and healthcare organizations. Let's see, it also says that as Operation Kronos continues with support from law enforcement agencies in 10 countries, Europol on Tuesday announced that over 3,500 Lockbit victims in 33 countries were identified, underlining that victims can use a free recovery tool available on the No More Ransom site to restore their data. So I've said this a bunch, right? If you are a bad actor, a threat actor, you can't hide forever. They're going to come after you, and they are getting really good at tracking people down, right? And they are giving away payments like $10 million in order to incentivize people to help take you down. So, especially the ones that are quote unquote successful, they are absolutely going to come after you and they're going to find you, right? Like you're not going to hide forever. Criminals, rarely do criminals hide forever, right? And that's in quotes. Sometimes, people have different lengths of times that they're able to kind of hide. But again, especially with computer crimes, these criminals in particular are ones they are able to track down in a lot of cases. And they're pulling in different governments, right? There's a lot of people that are interested in finding you when you do a lot of bad things. So my guess is they're going to find this person, right? Or life is going to be very hard as far as being able to travel anywhere. Right. So, yeah, interesting article. So, with that being said, that's the last article for today's episode. Again, this is Cyber Threat Intel. I'm your host, John Good. This is episode number 31. It is Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. want to thank you for joining. If this is the first time you're joining, welcome again. If you're returning, always glad to have you back. Make sure to check out cyberthreatintel.com. Again, cyberthreatintel.com. That's our website. You can find the feed for the articles and all the different platforms that we're on as well. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. See you later. Are you tired of overpaying for cybersecurity training? Are you interested in training from industry professionals? Are you looking for cybersecurity career services? If you answered yes to any of those questions, then cybertrainingpro.com is the perfect platform for you. At Cybertraining Pro, we're a one-stop shop for all your cybersecurity needs. We can train you for industry certifications or just improve your overall knowledge and skills in a certain area. Unlike other platforms, we don't stop there. We can also coach you throughout your career, practice your interview skills, or create a high-performing resume with our career services. Cybertrainingpro.com isn't just another training platform. Students get exclusive access to our private community where we go beyond training courses to provide additional content, tips and tricks, and engagement with both other students and staff. Look, by the year 2025, there could be as many as 3.5 million job openings in cybersecurity. With so much opportunity, why not maximize your career potential with a platform that cares about your success? Come join us at cybertrainingpro.com and start building your future today.